Hello there, YouTube! I am Pot of Profanity, and today I am bringing you a deck profile of my current Inzektor build. A lot of people have asked me to do that, so I thought why not give it a shot and make a commentary. As you can probably tell, I am both not a native English speaker and I am quite sick, so bear that in mind. Alright, let's start it off with the obvious. I run 3 centipedes, 3 dragonflies, a giga weevil, and 3 hornets. That's pretty much the basic Inzektor, how it is called now, lineup. It's pretty good. It's pretty much obvious that you should run these cards. You should definitely not run, and it's really not a good card. And a lot of people have asked me why Giga Weevil. I thought about including Giga Mantis, but to be honest, I only ever used it to special summon a lot of stuff out of my graveyard with its secondary effect. I never really used it to boost my Inzektors to 2400 attack, so it simply wasn't that needed. Another bonus is you can also search it out by Sangan. That is also pretty good. So I really like Giga Weevil. It can special summon itself, and if you watch my videos, I usually use it to summon Ptolemy's M7, which kind of is my unofficial boss monster. In this deck, it's really good. You can detach Giga Weevil and add it back to your hand. That is a pretty good turn. You can set up for the next time you explode. So I never really needed to also run more than 1 Giga Weevil because it usually gets the job done by itself. That's always pretty good. I run 2 Spirit Reapers simply because I couldn't really fit in the wind-up engine, and I'm not that big of a fan nowadays of it. It was pretty good, but usually I can OTK my opponents very easily with this deck. So I most of all needed a little bit of defense and time to get to the cards I needed in order to OTK my opponent very easily. So I took Reaper, simply because of its stall power, but also because it has the added effect that it can punish your opponent very efficiently. Most people I duel that know they cannot run over my Inzektors a turn, they will usually refuse to set a lot of cards onto the field because they think they're gonna slow me down. Sometimes that is correct, and in those cases it's pretty good to summon Reaper and punish your opponent for that. He will have to discard something. Alright, it would be pretty bad if you discarded something like Grapha, but Dark Worlds are, at least on Dueling Network, not that common any longer, so that's a minor threat. Tour guides. Well, obviously they search out Sangan, make a whole lot of XYZ shenanigans. They're a very good card. You should definitely run them over Armageddon Knight, Summoner Monk, and Laval Wall. It's such a goofy word. Yeah, but I personally think it is superior to the Armor Monk chain combo, and that's why I love them. Well, the spell cards is full of staples: Allure of Darkness, Dark Hold, Foolish Burial, Monster Reborn, Mystical Space Typhoon, and Duality. I didn't really include Heavy Storm because I also run a relatively big back row line usually, and because I really lost a whole lot of games because of it. I dropped it on an opponent, he would go Starlight Road all over me, and that makes me pretty angry. I hate losing to Starlight Road, which is also why I myself am including Starlight Road to make other people really angry. Yeah. I will probably side it, but I am not gonna main deck it. I don't really like it. Heart of Clear Water. A lot of people have asked me why to include Heart of Clear Water. It has 3 uses in this deck. First of all, it can further stall with Dragonfly. Your opponent would have to bounce or banish it, and usually your opponent, at least in this meta, will not be able to do that. The only cards that really banish are Caius and Trishula. and the only cards that really bounce are Bryanek. So I can live with that. I can usually warning it away, so that's also not a big problem. So it can stall, first of all. Also, the second use of Heart of Clear Water is if you equip it to a Dragonfly that's in turn equipped with a Hornet. It will have 1500 attack because of Hornet's effect, and Heart of Clear Water will automatically destroy itself, giving you the ability to summon a Centipede. That is actually a pretty big deal because you can from then on just completely explode. It's very good. And the third reason I run Heart of Clear Water is because if you equip it to a Centipede, Heart of Clear Water will blow itself instantly up, giving you the ability to surge a Hornet or a Dragonfly, and that is very potent. You should not underestimate it. It's pretty much a game-winning combination. Call of the Haunted is obviously a very good card in this deck, since your Inzektors don't trigger on normal summons like Dragonflies, so that's a pretty big plus. It can also be used as MST bait to fetch a Zangan and get another Surge, so that is a pretty good card. Fiendish Chain I included because its primary use is to function as a sort of effect veiler. Yeah, it kind of dies to MST, but that is actually only a minor threat, and it didn't really happen that often to begin with. And I really like the card. In a pinch, you can actually destroy it with Hornet to get another Surge, so that's also pretty good. I actually really like this card. It also forces your opponent to rethink their strategy because they usually cannot attack when Fiendish Chain hits them. So your Inzektors might even survive a turn longer on the field, and that is a pretty big deal. If you can protect a Centipede or a Dragonfly for one turn, your opponent will have a lot of problems actually. It can create by itself a winning condition to have one of those guys on the field at the start of your main phase 1. Mirror Force, Solemn Judgment, Solemn Warning, and Torrential Tribute, well, those are pretty much obvious cards. You should definitely run those in almost any decks. Really, they win games, so there's no reason to not include them. Starlight Road, as I said, I really use it only to protect against Heavy Storm and Dark Hole. Dark Hole pretty much is one very big threat. If you couldn't finish off your opponent because he dropped a Fader or a Gorse or a Trag in the wrong moment, you probably blew it up, yeah, but if your opponent has or top decks a Dark Hole, it's pretty bad, because after a whole lot of combos, I usually do not have some Inzektors in my deck. And then it's pretty bad. I cannot really swarm the field as efficiently with Dragonfly at that point, and my opponent could actually run me over if he has a pretty good hand. It really won a whole lot of games. It's very good. Some people will say you should drop it, but I personally love it. If it works for you, a Starlight Roadless build, well, that's good too. Also, some people have asked me why I'm not running Birdman, Genex Ally Birdman. The reason is I don't really think it is necessary. You only really will use it to some Underground Arachnite or Bryanek, Trishula, and Locomotion, or Genex. Those are pretty much the only real targets and the only real reasons to run Birdman. And I don't really think it is necessary, because honestly, the last thing this deck will need is another way to get rid of opponent's monsters. Hornet works wonders. It really completely annihilates your opponent's field if you can drop a Dragonfly onto them. And Birdman is not really doing much. It also gets rid of some monsters, obviously, but that is not as good as it sounds, simply because the actual threats to this deck, at least by my experience, are big back row lines and to some extent hand traps. Hand traps are a minor threat simply because you can just dimensional just side it in next duel, so that's also just a minor threat. But big back row lines like Gladiator Beasts or TG, those decks can really hurt you if they can stall or pretty much kill you with Shadow Imprisoning Mirror, with Skill Drain, Macrocosmos. Those are pretty bad cards, and you really should side in stuff to beat them, like Dust Tornado or Fairy Wind. Yeah, you should definitely watch out for those. And Birdman isn't really doing much against the big back row line, so I simply dropped it. It was not that good. Yeah, the extra deck is pretty much obvious. Stardust Dragon because of Starlight Road, Exabeetle, which I never summoned. I just keep it in my extra deck for fun. Leviair and Leviathan, Acid Golem, Zen Minus, and M7. And even a Brilliant, even though I use it so very rarely, it's not the best option, I think, but it can sometimes help. The thing is, this deck only really needs some monsters in the extra deck that are completely mandatory, like Leviair, Leviathan, those guys. But otherwise, you can pretty much throw in whatever you want. If you run Cyber Dragons in the extra deck, in the extra deck because of Karakuris, then you can also throw in Chimera Tech Fortress Dragons. But it really doesn't matter what you put in, as long as those kinda guys right here are included. So yeah, that's pretty much my deck. I hope you guys liked it, and until next time, thanks for watching.